Hey guys, how's it going? It's 8-Bit Eric, and earlier this week I was covering the DualSense controller drift lawsuit where Sony is finding themselves in a class action lawsuit similar to what Microsoft and Nintendo are currently going through. So drift is becoming a more prominent thing in gaming. People are starting to complain and throw lawsuits out about controllers having drift. And again, I've made a few videos following some of these court cases. To me, it's a definite gray area because there's no way to prove that Sony or Microsoft or Nintendo are deliberately making defective products with the intent of people to go out and buy more. There's no way of proving that. You cannot prove a negative in the court of law, in my opinion, but I know a lot of you guys are kind of like, well, they're multi-million and billion-dollar corporations. Stick it to the man. Screw them. They deserve what they get or whatever. To me, it's just a very interesting situation to see this happen. And I cannot imagine another time in gaming history where we would see this happening. But now it's becoming more prevalent than ever. So we've been following these. There is an update. According to a new teardown from iFixit, these issues are going to get worse because there's a certain amount of wear and tear that the DualSense could only handle depending on how certain components and stuff in it are used. Like, this is potentially some bad news for Sony. Even if they didn't intend to do this, this is just going to work in the favor of people suing the companies. So I honestly don't know what to say about this. But it is interesting. So we're going to read this article. I got this from Tom's Hardware, but everywhere has been reporting on this. So before we get into this, if you're not subscribed, click that subscription. I don't say that for my damn health, all right? Get me to 83,000. No, I'm just joking. No, for real, though. I don't say it for my health. Subscribe if you haven't. So, report. The PS5 DualSense controller drift issues will only get worse. Let's see what happens here. So PS5 owners might have to deal with a lot of drift in the future, and not the kind racing game enthusiasts might enjoy. An iFixit teardown revealed Friday that the DualSense controller's analog sticks might only work properly for a few months. After that, well, it's going to be a whole lot harder to actually play games on a PS5. Now, that few months timetable that they just gave us is very worrisome, considering the PlayStation 5 just came out in November. That is incredibly worrisome. Now, there's been reports. Supposedly, somebody bought a PS5 and started seeing DualSense drift the same exact day that they opened their PlayStation 5. My controller, knock on wood, is still working properly. I hope it stays that way. I hope it doesn't experience any drift. But that timetable of a few months is very worrisome in my book. And I hope we don't have to go through that. I hope we're not going to experience that. Now, Sony crammed a lot of things, interesting things, into the DualSense controller. The standout features are improved haptic feedback, which is cool, courtesy of two separate actuators and adaptive triggers that offer dynamic resistance based on what's happening in game. And I like the adaptive triggers, even though they do scare me at times. Those feel like they're going to break. It also has a built-in microphone, motion controls, and the DualShock Force touchpad. All of those features made the DualSense a compelling part of the PS5's launch. Now, it says the problem is that some of the lucky few who actually managed to buy a PS5 reported issues with drift affecting the DualSense's analog sticks, which is now the subject of a class action lawsuit. So we've been covering the class action lawsuit. This goes on to describe drift as a, from a player experience perspective, it's what happens when a controller doesn't send the correct input. This can result in characters moving even if the player isn't touching the analog stick, make it impossible to manage an in-game camera, and lead to feeling like the controller's actively sabotaging the player. Now, I have experienced Joy-Con drift on Switch with the Joy-Cons in the past. Just in general, the left analog stick on the Joy-Cons just always has felt non-responsive to me. Supposedly, all you have to do is do routine maintenance with a cotton swab or a Q-tip, in some alcohol. I've never had to personally do it, but I've heard that. Now, this goes on to say the problem for any controller is it's an even bigger problem for a controller that accompanies a perennially sold out console for which people have paid thousands of dollars. According to iFixit, however, the DualSense Drift's problems shouldn't come as a surprise because Sony used hardware known to have durability issues. Now, see, this is a weird situation here. iFixit is claiming that Sony used hardware that is known to have durability problems. I guess that's a fair argument in a lawsuit, but again, it's still a gray area, in my opinion, to prove that a company like Sony purposely did that. Who knows? I like to give the benefit of the doubt in everything. This goes on to say that iFixit's teardown revealed that the DualSense analog sticks rely on the same Alps manufactured joystick mechanism used in the DualShock 4, the Switch Pro controller, and numerous Xbox One gamepads. The mechanism's potentiometers, I always stutter on that word, have an expected lifespan of 2 million cycles. That sounds like a lot, but it's not. So you can actually imagine maybe you get an intense game, like a fighting game or something, you're going to be wearing it down a lot. iFixit explains one of our teardown engineers measured their own Call of Duty Modern Warfare controller interactions for back-of-the-envelope joystick life math. Averaging 10 different 30-second intervals, they made roughly 100 full pitonometer rotations per minute. If you play a less stick-intensive game than a first-person shooter, rotating 80 times per minute, you'll hit 2 million rotations in 25,000 minutes, or 417 hours. That's just 209 days, playing 2 hours per day. Wow, so I've actually streamed like 4 to 5 hours multiple times a week. So that's small. At a more kinetic 120 rotations per minute, that's 139 days at 2 hours per day. So Alp's own rating for accurate joystick measurements is, in one gamer's hypothetical experience, 4 to 7 months, and that's with a very non-pandemic 2-hour cap on your game time. This is some scary mathematics, guys. Again, the PS5 only came out in November, so I don't know. This is very interesting. Who knows if this is going to happen on a massive scale or if it's just going to be a small limited number. Again, my DualSense controller is still acting fine. I stream a lot. I play it for many hours a day, way more than 2 hours a day. It's scary. I'm hoping it's not as bad as this sounds. This could be a lot of gloom and doom and a lot of fake news. A nothing burger, so take all this with a grain of salt. But if some of you guys are experiencing DualSense drift, let me know in the comments down below. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Subscribe if you haven't. I'll see you on the next video.